Hi everyone! Today I'm going to recreate a makeup and hairstyle inspired by Elsa Hosk's stunning red carpet look from the Cannes Film Festival. The moment I saw this look, soft peachy tones, glowing skin and a modern textured French twist, I instantly fell in love. And when I saw my model Laura with her new lighter hair color, I knew right away she'd be the perfect fit to bring this vision to life. Luckily, she loved the idea too, so I'm really happy she wanted to be part of this look and bring it to life with me. So stay tuned. I'm Alada, a hairstylist, makeup artist and educator. And let's dive into this Cannes-inspired glam together. As always, I start with skin prep. For me, this step is very consistent. I don't like to experiment too much when it comes to skincare before makeup. A clean base, proper hydration and the right cream are all you need to make the skin ready for foundation. Today, I'm using the Vitamin Enriched face base from Bobbi Brown. While it's absorbing into the skin, I move on to brows. First, I brush the brows up using a clear brow gel to shape them into the direction I need. Then, I go in with Anastasia Beverly Hills brow powder to gently define and fill them in. Lately, I really prefer brow powders over pencils. They're faster, softer, and work great when you want a more natural look. For this look, I'm starting with the eyes. I begin by applying 2 cream eyeshadows as a base. First, a light warm tone shade all over the lid, and then a slightly deeper warm brown shade blended into the outer corners. This helps me build depth from the start and makes it easier to blend the powder shadows later. It also helps everything last longer. I'm using one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes from Chanel, and you can probably tell how much I love it because the pans already have visible dents. I start with a soft beige shade in the inner part of the lid to brighten and open the eyes. Then I add the peachy shade to the center of the lid to bring in warmth and a soft pop of color. Finally, I apply the warm light brown tone in the outer corners and slightly into the crease to elongate and shape the eye. By the way, I often switch between starting with the eyes or the skin, but here, since I'm going for a clean matte finish on the face, it's just safer to do the eyes first and avoid messing up the base later. And if you love peachy tones and soft warm neutrals like I do, I can definitely recommend this palette. It's compact, travel-friendly and super versatile. Now I'm taking the tattoo liner pencil from Maybelline in the shade Bold Brown. I use this one in about 90% of my makeup looks. I just love the tone. It's softer than black, works with many different makeup styles, and it's super easy to apply. Plus, it really lasts well throughout the day. Here, I'm applying the pencil right between the upper lashes, not on the waterline. This step is key for subtle definition, and for that, your pencil should be well sharpened. At the outer corner, I extend the line slightly above the lashes and then softly blend it out. I'm not going for a super sharp tail. Instead, I want a more soft, elongated wing that feels elegant but not too graphic. You'll notice I'm working with 2 brushes and the pencil at the same time, one to apply and the other to blend and diffuse the edge gently. A little tip: when I draw the eyeliner tail, I always ask the model to look straight ahead with her eyes open. This helps me find the most flattering angle for her specific eye shape. Now, for the lower waterline, I use a light beige pencil, something close to a skin tone, just to open up the eyes even more and make them look fresh and awake. Then I apply individual lashes, focusing them on the outer corners. This helps elongate the eye and creates that lifted almond shape. I'll apply mascara later. I always wait a bit to let the glue set fully before doing that. I'm starting with underpainting, and for that I'm using the She's Bronzed Cream Bronzer by Patrick Ta. I apply it where bronzer usually goes, along the cheekbones and around the forehead. I also add a little on the tip and bridge of the nose for soft definition. I'm not blending it too perfectly at this stage. It might look a bit strong at first, but just trust the process. This is all part of the underpainting. Once the foundation goes on top, everything will melt together and look super soft and cohesive. For blush, I'm mixing 2 shades from Charlotte Tilbury, Pink Pop and Peach Pop. These are some of my favorite blushes, not just because the colors are beautiful, but because they really last well on the skin. Again, the blush might look super intense at first, but don't worry. It will balance out once we finish the skin. And now it's time to do a little magic. Before foundation, I actually start with concealer. I didn't plan it this way, but sometimes I just go by feel. I'm using the Sensual Skin Enhancer from Kevyn Aucoin under the eyes and on any areas where I want extra brightness. At the same time, I prep my sponge, just dampen it with water so it's ready to blend everything seamlessly into the skin. I gently press the concealer in with the sponge, making sure everything looks smooth and fresh. Then I move on to foundation. I'm mixing two different formulas, Charlotte Tilbury's Beautiful Skin for a Healthy Glow and Pat McGrath's Matte Foundation to balance things out and add longevity. The mix gives a really beautiful, slightly dewy but still long-wearing base. As I apply the foundation over the bronzer and blush, you'll start to see everything soften and come together. That intense flush from before, it's still there, but it's now melted into the skin, much more refined and elevated. So after using all the cream products, it's time to set everything in place with powder. For this look, I'm using the Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder by Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Medium 2. I really love this one. It mattifies the skin beautifully, but without making it look dry or flat. It doesn't settle into pores or fine lines and actually gives a soft focus effect, almost like a natural Photoshop blur, which is perfect for this kind of glam look. Now I'm moving on to the lips, and since I'm recreating Elsa Hosk's Kana makeup, I noticed that her lips were quite contoured, much more defined than I usually do. So this part is a little out of my comfort zone, but I'm actually really enjoying it. Laura's lip shape is perfect for this kind of look, so I'm taking a lip pencil from Aucoin in the shade Cappuccino. I actually found it during a trip to Italy and fell in love with the color, especially for these kinds of elegant glam looks. On Laura, it looks stunning, but to be honest, when I try it on myself, I always feel a bit unsure. What about you? Do you love contoured lips? Or feel like me? Love it on others, but not on yourself? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. Now, for the lip color itself, I really loved the soft peachy tone from the reference photo. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact match in my kit, so I'm going to improvise. I'm mixing Charlotte Tilbury's Peach Pop blush, yes, the same one we used earlier, with a peach-toned lipstick from Evergarden. It's not an exact replica of Elsa's shade, but honestly, I really love the way it turned out. Soft, peachy, and super flattering. Now it's time for the final touches. After working with cream textures and setting everything with powder, I like to go back in with some powder color products, just to bring everything back to life and enhance dimension. So I take the peach blush from Dior Backstage and gently tap it over the cheeks to revive that flush. Then I suddenly realize I still haven't applied mascara, so I grab my trusted Sweed Mascara. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I use this one all the time. It lifts, defines, and just works beautifully with natural or false lashes. And to finish the makeup look, I pick up a powder bronzer from Patrick Ta, this time in the shade She's Statuesque, which is slightly lighter than the cream one I used earlier. I apply it over the same areas, along the cheekbones, around the forehead, and lightly over the nose, just to softly tie the whole complexion together. Just before I moved on to the hair, I hand Laura a mirror, and her reaction honestly made my day. She looked at herself and said, "Oh my god," in the best way possible. That's when I knew this look was really working. It's always the best moment, when your client or model sees themselves and lights up like that. Now, let's talk about the hair. To complete the look, I created a hairstyle inspired by Elsa Hosk's French twist from Cannes. First, I added some loose texture waves throughout the hair, just to give it that romantic softness and movement. Then, I teased the crown and created a slightly undone French twist. Not too polished, not too sleek, but full of texture and character. Because filming the full makeup look took quite a bit of time, I wasn't able to capture every single step of the hairstyle in detail, but you'll still see some of the process in this video. Just enough to get a feel for how I created it. If you love textured updos, this one is such a nice example of how you can modernize a classic silhouette. For a few seasons, we've been seeing mostly sleek, minimal styles on red carpets, but now texture is slowly making a comeback. And I honestly love that there's something really timeless, yet fresh, about combining structure with softness. I know a lot of stylists are nervous about French twists. They can seem intimidating, especially the really polished ones. But this version, it's actually much easier to work with. Textured hair is like sculpting clay. It holds shape beautifully, and you can really work with your hands to mold the form you want. That's why I love doing textured hairstyles. You get to play, sculpt, and create something unique each time. So that's our finished look. Soft peachy makeup, glowing skin, and a textured modern French twist. I truly love how everything came together, and I hope this inspired you to experiment with something new. Whether it's a bold lip shape, a cream blush, or a French twist with a modern twist. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a like, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe for more hair and makeup inspiration. I'm really curious. Do you think I managed to recreate the vibe of Elsa Hosk's Cannes look? And what do you think of the final result overall? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Love.